puts them in dark horse territory. I'm calling them a dark horse right now, going into the future international events that we're going to see in 2024. So, with that said, Team Indonesia, on the other hand, a lot on the shoulders of Sans here. I think part of the top 3, top 5 players in the whole Indonesia for the eyes of the world. I think you have to just commit to your mechanics, show the world that not all is lost.
I'd like to beg to differ. I'd like to say that the pressure is more so on Coach Adi right now.
Oh, on the coach, not the players!
On the coach right now, with how much criticism Indonesia has actually been receiving for the drafts earlier on. So we're going to see all that unravel right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we get into the drafting phase for game number 1. Indonesia first pick, Saudi Arabia with the second. The bands are already pulling through. We see a Fanny, a Matilda, a Chip from Indonesia. From Saudi Arabia of the Suyo, Zushin, as well as the Give and a first pick Alpha.
Yeah, I like this Alpha. Again, this is what we were talking about with when it comes to Team Indonesia. It's that bring out that aggressive playstyle that invaded the jungle and controlled the rotations of Malaysia in that game number 2. They did that by first picking the Alpha, and now whenever you pair with this Alpha, you'll be able to do that. That's one of the strengths of Alpha. He's a high invade hero. Now for Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they go ahead and pick up the Phobius to temper what we can do in the EXP lane. And then now they also pick up the Cho, taking it away from the hands of Keyboy. And that gives the condition that we asked for from Saudi Arabia, which is make sure you get something that can get information in the when it comes to the rotations of the mid trio of Indonesia. At the same time, you take away the Cho Alpha, and again, that's what caused that game 2 stomp against Team Malaysia, wherein they just kept invading the jungle.
The metagame just keeps evolving. Team Indonesia picking the 1-1 in the face of the Phobius. CW doesn't care. Team Indonesia doesn't care. Like, they know that in gold lane, CW versus Sano, Calvin's going to try to outplay. Calvin's going to try to walk out of the laning phase with his head up high, and Sano having been visited by the rest of Team Indonesia like twice or thrice in the first 5 minutes. One more pick in the first phase. I don't know if this is a time for Tarzan to pick, because I see Coach Adi, I see Team Indonesia, they might actually start attacking the jungle. They might try to bear down on the fact that Tarzan isn't, there you go, I was going to say, Tarzan isn't comfortable with the assassin jungler. So there it is, telegraphed. He picks up the Exborg. One of the few remaining fighter jungles, because you see the Suyu banned out, they pick up the Alpha. What else would you have gone to, a Martis?
Yeah, it's too difficult, it's too risky, and even if you wanted to go for something like the Bane, I think we talked about it as well backstage, that the Bane requires a little more help, preferably from something like the Matilda, but it was banned out. So coming into the second phase now, Saudi Arabia, what do you think they're going to take away?
Need to take away a roamer that's going to invade or help apply the pressure dished out by the Alpha. I mean, if you just want to be safe, they might just straight up ban Keyboy heroes like the Tigreal.
And then the Khalid.
And then the Khalid in the roam that Keyboy has brought out as well. The thing is, the first 2 picks of Indonesia already shows early to mid-game aggression. First 3 picks of Saudi Arabia shows, funnily enough for me, a little bit more passiveness. The Phobius is going to be could be aggressive. The Cho will be aggressive and mobile and be very proactive. But the Exborg we saw in the hands of Saudi Arabia did struggle also. So that's where the more passive nature of their lineup, I feel like, is coming from. The jungle pick alone.
2 out of the 3 in the first phase are more sandbags. 2 out of 3 are more ways to open up for the true cores of Team Saudi Arabia. And I think that's what Coach Lyric here has set up. We're going to pick first for Tarzan, Troll, and Sanji, so that Sano and Coffin have a better go. And luckily enough, that's what's left open. And Indonesia is attacking Sano. Would not be surprised if this is one more gold laner ban for Team Indonesia.
I think that makes sense, right? The Irritel does come down, like you mentioned. Also, the fact that the Irritel can still be a good lane against the 1-1, right? So they want to make sure that CW gets the space that he needs. I think amongst all the players from Indonesia so far, CW has been a huge standout, and they want to protect that, and they want to work with it. So the Irritel ban comes through. We have the Hilda takeaway, which in my personal opinion is quite interesting. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that Indonesia could potentially have picked up a Hilda into the Exborg?
Yeah.
Yes, but where are we going?
No, go ahead.
No, Indonesia was going to pick the Hilda or the Khalid. It's one or the other. But since XP and Rome are missing, they would have rather taken out the more painful one for the Phobius.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you already expect what Indonesia want to do with their lineup, and that Hilda would round things out very well. Now with the Moskov, they get a little bit more map presence, which is good. You're up against a low E, they needed that. And here it is, the Uranus brought out yet again. We did tease it, and there is a Khalid that you mentioned, Leo, that would round up the Indonesia draft really well. And the draft for Indonesia is just looking very good right now, that they don't have the right damage profile to deal with the Uranus. This mid laner, if they want to go for mid to late game, just go ahead and pick up the Sicilian. But that's already showing to Indonesia that, yeah, we're going to be turtling out and playing it a little bit later for past 10 minutes. But I feel like right now, there's not a lot of mid laners you can pick that can match what Indonesia can do into the early to mid. I think they have to accept that they're going to go for a little bit more late game.
What do you think, Leo?
I'm thinking about that Uranus-Phoveus matchup. Is Uranus the all-around catch for every single strong XP laner in the current metagame? What if there's a Khalid? Would you steal Uranus?
Yeah, right now it looks like you can just pretty much heal through it, and they go for the Valentina. A little bit more close range, shorter, but with everything that Indonesia can throw right now, the Valentina feels like it's not going to have a good time in the early skirmishes.
What's the best case scenario to steal here?
Yeah, it's tough. Are you just going to end up taking the Raging Sandstorm or the Spear of Alpha in terms of more offensive options? Or are you going to try to match them and steal away the diversion when you can?
Right? That seems like a 1-2 plan, a 1-2 step. This seems like a 1-43 step. Like, there's just so many things in between that have to go right for you to use a Valentina. So I'm putting myself in Saudi Arabia's shoes, and I'm like, maybe they picked the Valentina not for the IMU. Maybe it's just for the full-on kit.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I think it'll be worth it.
Wait, how do you mean?
Yeah, well, for my take, the Cho and the Valentina together are very good at poking out in the early to the mid game. Maybe instead of going for the mid to the late game approach that I suggested, that they're thinking, hey, we have to sort of mellow out what Indonesia might be able to do in the early game by winning a little bit of those trades, the poke, so that they're going to be a little bit less eager with jumping into team fights right away.
All right, it looks like we're jumping into the game, ladies and gentlemen, as we get into our first game in this best of 3, the battle for 3rd place. We're going to throw it over to Mirko and Naisu. Boys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Eterna, Renmar, Leo, for breaking down the draft here. Game number 1 in this best of 3, the 3rd place decider. It's me, Naisu, joined here with Mirko once again to bring you the action today as we round up the MLBB Open Men for WEC 2024 IESF. Mirko, before we jump into the game, which is happening right now actually, so I thought we had some time. Here we go, let's jump into it. The Land of Dawn at best of 3, 3rd place decider between Indonesia and Saudi Arabia. Mirko, how are we feeling about the drafts here? We heard the panel, how they feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I like it. I like the drafts coming in from Indonesia. I feel like it matches what they've been able to do a lot. Like, a lot of the successes we've seen from Indonesia has been through getting the control, getting the pressure down early on. With the Lo Yi plus the Khalid, I think they'll have a lot more tools to do that. Especially with the Khalid, you can already see the pressure given towards Cup in the mid lane, together with Sans. Troll will dish out a bit more damage onto Keyboy, but it's all about the mid lane trade. Sans will be zoning Cup away from these minions.
I feel like Troll got a preview of what Keyboy did yesterday with this same hero, right, the Khalid Roam, how much pressure he was able to go ahead and put on Sakai's in that game 2, if I remember right, when he was playing the Nolan. So Troll's job here is, contain Keyboy from doing what he wants to do and slow things down, because Tarzan so far on this jungle X-Borg is having a pretty safe time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's always something that you have to watch out for, because Keyboy, he doesn't have to go back to base, man. Like, he can just go ahead, heal back up, and just be a nuisance to Tarzan and try to keep him from getting to that point where he has that, level 4 available.
Yeah, Cuffin really struggling in the mid lane here up against this Lo Yi, constantly getting the yin-yang reactions. Sans very, very good on the Lo Yi. You can see that Troll always has to just get some space here for Cuffin to even get some farm. He canceled the recall earlier. Cuffin forced back again. This time they were already able to shove the wave though, so he should be able to recall this time around. No more threat of a cancel for that recall.
Okay, so while we wait for this first objective to pop up here, first turtle of the game, we're going to have to go ahead and see how they execute this fight, because again, the level 4s that are going to be available for the first objective take are always crucial. Keyboy doesn't have the Raging Sandstorm, neither does Troll have that Way the Dragon. So right now, Turtle started up, and it looks like this just might go in the hands of Indonesia.
Yeah, no Faraga armor. Tarzan will have to concede this Turtle. Troll, they walk up, get Jikundo. Albert should be able to take this. No retribution committed even. Luke pops into Consecration, still has the Purify, and Albert will utilize this retribution that he didn't use on the turtle. Wait, what happened? Bottom lane,
Whoa.
solo kill Sano. Getting the kill diversion into the back. Tarzan gonna be locked down as well. Troll, good way to drag it over to Kiba. The Spirit Battle that cancels it out. Raging Sandstorm Steel from Coven.
Wow, what a setup from both teams so far. Not sure if Luke's going to be able to do anything more from this. Again, it's just the Uranus. So he kind of delays this a little bit further from getting that orange buff, but Tarzan will make his way, and Luke should just get on out of there. But yeah, a fight happening between both teams, keeping it relatively even, but a couple more kills here in the hands of Saudi Arabia. They'll play around this, and we're talking about scaling, right? Scaling what they can do. How can they get into the game where they have the best mid-game transition that they need? Now, if you're looking at Saudi Arabia's lineup and how they do that, aside from the fact that Troll is this pick-off guy for them, they have other tools that they can use. Part of this, too, is just having Sanji later on in the Phoveus. Oh, is he going to go for the kick?
Luke still has Purify. Opts to Purify. The way to Dragon locks Keyboy down, though, straight into the fire of the last Insanity. Saudi Arabia leading 4-1 in kills.
That's what I was saying, man. You know, you have the, well, I was going to say the Hitman, but this is Troll using the Hitman hero that we used to see so often. But the Cho himself is that guy to go ahead and get a pick off early on, especially when you don't necessarily have those defensive items yet to withstand, you know, a lot of that pressure. And if Troll does that every single time, whether he uses a flicker or not, that's where it kind of keeps Keyboy in check. Because again, Keyboy's job is just to be that aggressor, just to be that nuisance. And now Cuffin, he's holding on to the Raging Sandstorm himself. And this can actually be quite a deadly combo if you think about it, right? Raging Sandstorm with the last Insanity from Tarzan. And that's why fighting around these choke points in the jungle is pretty difficult. Whoa.
Again, good way to drag it, but it's on to Luke. San's getting an reaction. Albert, Spirit of Alpha forward, unable to find anyone. Tarzan is poking Indonesia down. Turtle number 2 spotting the game. Tarzan, again, Faraga armor bursted down by the Low Yi of Sans.
Diversion.
It's a diversion. Where is it gonna go? Up top into the orange buff. Tarzan, unable to walk in his own jungle. 3-man ambush as Albert gets the turtle for free.
That's a whole lot here, Mirko, early on, just with a diversion, enough to go and get the timing off of the orange buff again. Tarzan, what? Oh,
2v1!
2v1, he's still going.
Albert gets the kill back. At least it's a trade, but what's going on? CW solo kill early in a 2v1, falling as well. Troll looking for the way of the dragon. Will not be able to get it. Uncharacteristic stuff, man.
So the Moscow versus that Wanwan, that matchup right there, Sano versus CW. I'm surprised, you know, he did have to burn the flicker, but he's got that lead now against CW. I'm wondering what the difference is in terms of the gold for the gold laners right now, because it's going to make it a little bit difficult now for CW to obviously be in that lane. The turrets are still up, though, so he might have to rely on some of the support coming through from the rest of the Indonesian team, and it looks like they might just do that because they've got to stop Sano from getting that power spike he's looking for on this Moskov. You can see what's happening here, too. Troll waiting patiently for this. He's going to go ahead and back off from it, but looks like pressure on this tier 1 is the plan for Indonesia right now, where they want to open up the map for themselves.
Oh, wow, wait. All right, CW looking for the turn in the bottom lane. Minion wave will be able to crash down on a diversion. Over to the bush, Troll is right there, but it is a choke. Good shut pool way to open up that part of the map.
Okay, mid lane, again, they're just trying to hold it down, keeping things together. Troll still looking, again, he doesn't have the flicker just yet, maybe a couple seconds away before he has it. And that's what we're seeing here. Again, when they wait for that next turtle up, Indonesia has not been contested properly with Saudi Arabia trying to contest that, but they're looking for more kills and trying to work around it. They're finally getting, you know, some space to work around with, but they're down, what, 3,000 gold at this point. Indonesia going in, Troll.
Way to drag it.
Not the kick he was looking for.
Definitely not. Troll not going to be chased down. Crossbow Tang was ready, but he kills him before getting all the weakness points. CW punishing that mistake.
Yeah, I think that's really the point here. You know, it's always this way with the Cho pick. Like, you are going to extend Luke, though. Look how much he's tanking here. Diversion.
diversion, though, the Consecration. Luke is able to survive. Now Last Insanity committed down as well. Luke will fall. But Tarzan caught in Spear of Alpha. Albert going in. Raging Sandstorm with the flicker back, but he will not be able to find anyone. So Raging Sandstorm steals Sanji, flickering away. Albert caught in the midst of it all. Terrified down. Troll with a knockup and the way to dragon into Sano Spear. And again, now it's Troll who gets caught by the yin-yang reaction. Two more for the crossbow attack. He gets it, translating it over to Sano, who's going to be gunned down from the skies, but will be able to flicker out the safety. Now Sanji, Infernal Pursuit.
So he's still going. See, oh, Sanji's in trouble. He goes in, but he's not going to be able to pick up the kill with the Spear of Destruction. As Sano goes in, cleans up the kill, and gets some payback as they fight back into the jungle. What a team fight.
A long team fight. 3 members. Make it 4 with Albert, who died so early in the skirmish. Luke, it was essentially a wipeout. Luke died there too. 5 members of Indonesia falling. And again, overextending, but Sano, he's really been the main man here, getting a 2v1 victory, a 1v1 victory, and turning the tide of the fight with that brilliant SOD.
I'm so surprised that we have such extended team fights too, and the fact that, you know, Indonesia doesn't have any revitalizes. They're just able to go ahead and tank up some bodies, you know, because of Luke, he's there. A whole lot was used on both sides for that team fight though too, and you're starting to see Sands, like he has shown before on the Salui, is starting to get to that threat level. As he picks up the glowing wand too, his damage is quite scary if you're Saudi Arabia and you're approaching that. Earlier on, we did see Cuffin go ahead and copy that Raging Sandstorm, and the timing on that changes as well, right? How they initiate the fights or follow that up. So a lot of the focus has been really on just putting pressure in the jungle against Tarzan, but I would say Saudi Arabia has been doing a good job at responding to that. Diversion's going to be used again.
Troll shot. Oh, Raging Sandstorm, Spear of Alpha displaced. Oh, Troll gets away because of the Spear of Alpha. He's burning down. Now Cuffin steals away the Spear of Alpha, tries to go on to Luke. He's still able to survive with the Consecration, but look at the stacks put on him. Tarzan, Last Insanity with the Infernal Pursuit. That goes Luke. Now Tarzan caught on the Spear of Alpha again. It seems like we've been having 3-4 Spear of Alphas every fight.
It's either 3 or 4 Spear of Alphas or 2 Raging Sandstorms. A whole lot happening here in Riyadh right now. But what's happening now is the Lord is going to be secured by Indonesia. Not much Troll can do. Again, the jungler is down for Saudi Arabia as that Lord is secured. A diversion again this side of the map. Malefic Gun also just picked up CW. Where they're going to go Troll. It's probably going to be the focus here. Again, even Sano's got to be very careful about this because right now they're looking to make a play.
Walks up, getting the in-air reaction. Now Keyboy walks up as well. Sano able to get away, but Albert gets him with a Spear of Alpha. Now let's see, will they be able to capitalize on this? Albert will be covered. No, Raging Sandstorm from Keyboy! Finding the McCuffin responds it over with. Now Keyboy healing back up. Tarzan with Last Insanity used up already, and now the re-engage from CW as he looks to go for more. Into the back he goes. That's a Purify. Now the crossbow attack not ready just yet. CW failing to get the last weakness point. Keyboy will tank it up, gets executed. CW jumped on. Luke all alone, now able to dash away from the base, but that was messy.
A little bit messy there, but they got the job done. Again, the Lord's still making his way top side. They get some bodies. CW was looking for that last one, you know? He does have that Malefic Gun, but even then wasn't able to cap off that last kill. We're going to have a little bit of a pause here, a break while they get things situated. Again, there's still the situation that, you know, Saudi Arabia is fighting back. Like, they are able to fight and go toe-to-toe still with Indonesia, but the problem is, again, on this defense, how do they keep things together? The biggest thorn in the side of Saudi Arabia right now has mostly been the diversion plays. Anytime that Loyi does get picked up by any teams, that's always something you have to look out for. Not only the diversions, but even when they're able to somewhat escape that initial burst of, you know, just a surprise attack, if you will, with the diversion. The Spear of Alpha from Albert has been really on point at catching the right targets, especially when it's Sano, and even if he burns the flicker, you're going to get caught out.
It's really tough, essentially, right? The fact that, again, they're just looking for these skirmishes. Saudi Arabia have been able to match them, and they've been able to punish every single little mistake that Indonesia make. They overextend just a bit. Saudi Arabia are right there with the punish. Sano is still 5-2-0. He's doing a really, really good job. Sanji as well has been able to capitalize with the Infernal Pursuits, just dismantling them around in these skirmishes, making it messy. And I mean, looking at their composition, they do thrive in these messy situations too, right? I mean, they do well in a brawly type of situation for Saudi Arabia. So for Indonesia, especially after getting the Lord, I feel like it was very unnecessary, Naisu. The fact that they still went on to go for the team fights inside of the base.
They went deep.
Chasing for kills. Not really prio targets anyways, right?
Yeah.
You got the Valentina down. It was very early. You got Tarzan down as well. maybe it would have been a better call to just back away with the Lord, play with it, and get some base turrets.
Yeah, I think at that point, again, it's just like, I don't know, CW probably just saw red, and he just jumps into the base and goes and tries to get those kills. And ultimately, what it is resulting to, though, because that Lord is going to be pushing in on that top side, is maybe they get one of the base turrets down, depending on how Saudi Arabia plays this, how they decide to adjust to their defense. Because like you mentioned, Sano's been pretty great here. Looks like we're going to be jumping back into the game in just a couple seconds, and we'll see how they go for this defense. Sano will go ahead and clear up that wave on the top. All right, we're still going to wait here, but that's what I'm saying. Like, for Sano, it's really how does he go ahead, clear this out. Should deal with the Lord relatively quickly because he's got pretty much the items that he needs. But, again, their clear is great. Troll, I feel like, is the one that we have to watch out here for, because that base defense, if he's able to get that setup he's looking for, maybe even with a nice Way of the Dragon on the right target, then they have a successful defense. Again, they're not down massively here. They can actually defend this, have a successful turnaround, and then hopefully maybe they win a fight for Saudi Arabia and they can actually start marching down the map of Indonesia. But that's all on a whim, right? That's all on the fact that they got to be able to defend.
They have to defend. I think, honestly, with the members of Indonesia already getting taken down in the previous team fights, they should be able to defend, right? No CW, Sans. Was Sans alive?
Sans, he is alive. I believe so.
Still, though, I think without CW, they're going to really struggle going for the siege. So as long as CW is dead, I think this Lord should be dealt with quite easily.
quickly.
I mean, they have an export. They have a Moscow as well. Really, really good clear on the other side, which is Saudi Arabia. So I guess we'll see. Not too sure if we're going to get into the game. Yeah, it looks like it's safe right now. Yeah, all right. There you go.
All right, we're back in the game. Sano's going to go ahead and clear that up. They might even just hold on to the base turrets, it looks like. So Sans was alive. There's the spear, though.
Way to Dragon too, but Sans, good diversion out to safety. He didn't get the purple buff, though.
Yeah. Thought he'd be able to get that, but ultimately, like we were just saying, if Saudi Arabia can go ahead and defend, they're in a good position to be able to do it. They do just that. And Lord is dealt with. So, with Indonesia being a little overzealous earlier on, like we talked about, pushing into the base because of how that happened, that Lord ultimately didn't result into much, right? And so it gives them an opportunity for Saudi Arabia to go ahead and turn things around and get in a better position for the next objective take here. I think part of this, too, is what does Cuffin take? A lot of the times we've been seeing him take that Raging Sandstorm, and that might end up working best for them here. But I think it's just counterplaying this diversion. Before the Lord even comes up, as I say it, before that Lord even comes up, they're probably going to try to look for some form of an advantage in numbers, right? That's what we've seen so often with Indonesia. For Saudi Arabia, do you think they can actually approach this Lord fight and contest it with what's going on in the game? They're not down that much here, Mirko, but they actually got to defend this tier 2 right now.
Kind of minute to be dealt with again. Seems like we are going to see another pause here for game number 1. 11 minutes in, I think. Yeah, Lord is still in 40 seconds. That'll be the Enhanced Lord next.
Trying to take a look, too, if we can. I'm wondering, earlier it looked like it was over on the Saudi Arabia side, and this time it might, this time it looks like it's on Indonesia's side. So, again, important here that they get these things smoothed out for both the players here so they can go ahead and have that best experience, a smooth experience for this game, because this is now, we're at that point in the game where it's crucial, right? Because the question that I had for you was, Saudi Arabia, if they want to go ahead and contest this Lord, if they want to try to turn this game around, are they better off just sitting in their base? Or are they better off just actually contesting the Lord take against Indonesia?
I don't know. I feel like at this point, they're not really that far behind, right? I mean, I think it's a 2,000 goal lead, 3,000 goal lead.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
About 2 or 3. I think it's very, very contestable. Considering the fact that Sano is also really, really good in these very high brawly type of situations, the piercing damage has done a lot in these skirmishes. Again, the fact that CW isn't playing in the back, even when he's in front, he will always be punished as long as he's not able to fly with the crossbow tang, or if he doesn't have to win a nature yet, right? I think it's a good time for them to try to go for the contest. They need to try to poke it out, and I think they already have a few of the tools to bring the brawl to Indonesia.
Yeah.
Item power spikes for Sano, item power spikes for Tarzan and the export too, because they're up against the Uranus. They're up against a very tanky team, Alpha too. Should be able to deal with it as long as Tarzan keeps the Faraga armor, right? It all comes down to the Faraga armor, I feel like. Because a lot of these skirmishes, Indonesia has just been able to utilize the Loyi and also the Alpha to poke down the Faraga armor. So Xborg becomes a non-factor by the time the neutral objective becomes contested.
I would almost say at this point too, like, because we talk so much about the Loyi, the diversion, probably the best place to play against it is actually your base, right? Because for the most part, like, you know, all right, we at least have our, you know, our base and our fountain behind us and everything else. So the diversion, it can still surprise because we've seen teams do that where it's like kind of on the outer edge and then they appear, you know, towards the backside. And if Indonesia decides to go ahead and do that, then Saudi Arabia has an easier time than worrying about any of the bush spots in the jungle. And so I think part of it too is just dealing with, again, contest it. But Indonesia, I feel like they've got to have a little bit of sense of urgency under this too, because we've seen this, and I know you are familiar with this too, being a 1-1 main yourself. Once those winter crowns start getting picked up, once that defensiveness starts getting picked up for Saudi Arabia, it could come down to just timing, right? Like if you're able to go ahead and time that winter's crown perfectly on multiple members, or even let's say an immortality, with the fact that you also have an Xborg, so that's like multiple health bars you got to go through technically, then it might take away a lot of the damage here from Indonesia. So looks like we're back into the game, still on defense here. We're still about 30 seconds away from this Lord coming up here, and that's where we have to really see, what does Saudi Arabia plan to do? Do they plan to just give up the next big objective, or do they plan to actually contest it? These buffs are going to get taken away. You're already seeing, like you said, this Loyi is such a crucial pick, especially for a team like Indonesia, because look at the damage right now coming through from Sands, and it looks like Cuffin will take that Raging Sandstorm. So ultimately, you're 5 seconds away. They know that they might want to go ahead and contest this. Albert's picking up a winter crown himself. Sano finally gets a Malefic gun. So we'll see this. Once again, they can play with the fact that they have a Spear of Destruction available.
You know, looking at it again, Naisu, maybe they shouldn't contest, right? We were talking about it being a 2,000 gold lead, which is true, 2 to 3K. But Tarzan is 3 levels down on Albert. That's a massive advantage on Albert when it comes to Retribution. So if they don't have to control the side lane, I don't know, Troll goes in. We're able to find a way to try it onto Sans of all people. Raging Sandstorm from Cuffin as well. CW popping the Wind of Nature. Troll, there was one more weakness point there. The Spirit of Alpha will be able to peel for the team. Sanji will be slain 1 for 1.
Sands for Sanji right now. Lord's going to go for the reset. They want more though. Cuffin will flicker out, and Luke might be on the chase here. Keyboy as well. Goes in.
Whoa, good Abyss Walker from Sano, dodging away from the Raging Sandstorm flicker. But it does buy enough space for Indonesia to go for the Lord. It will be for free. Troll and Tarzan unable to walk up just in time. Now CW in the chase will learn from his past mistakes, and he will just take the discipline route. Sans respawning, diversioning into the mid lane.
Yeah, trying to get through there again. This is ultimately what we were looking for, and it looked like, you know, Saudi Arabia alongside Troll was like, yeah, we're going to go for this, try to make something happen. And it looked like it was a really good team fight for them, but a good disengage from Indonesia, and then they re-engaged.
Rose Gold Dog.
Rose Gold Dog gets picked up. CW now a little bit more defensive, and this is where we were talking about. So now you have a Lord enhanced going down the bottom. Saudi Arabia wants to hold on to what they can, but they're surely going to lose this bottom turret as that charge is going to come through, and they'll keep it together the best they can. But looking to open up the base, Indonesia does just that. Keyboy also picking up a Blade of Pepsi's this late in the game. Wants to go in for this execute with a Raging Sandstorm. So Lord finally getting cleared out. 2 base turrets left for Saudi Arabia. What will Indonesia do? How do they approach the fight? Again, waiting for that diversion, if they use it or not. It looks like right now they hold on to the 2 base turrets for Saudi Arabia.
Holding on to it really, really well. Again, they have great wave clear with Sano, great wave clear with Tarzan as well. They can just consistently play in their base. Like you said, their safe haven is definitely inside of the base. But Indonesia are looking to just brute force it. Immortality for Troll, looking for a possible angle to get Sans again. He has to be very careful. Doesn't have to purify. They're not managing waves where it'll crash together. It is one wave in the mid lane, one wave up top, and clearly when you have an Xborg and a Moskov, those waves will be cleared up really easily.
Yeah, he cleared out. Luke taking a couple shots. He's still tanky enough though. Again, he can just kind of do this freely for now, and we might find ourselves in a situation where again it's going to be up to the next Lord unless Saudi Arabia presses the situation. Divine Glaive being picked up. A little more defensive here too for Albert, as he might be looking to jump in. Also crucial item for Sano now too. This is all what we were talking about. That 15-minute mark when you start to pick up these defensive items, especially. Even something like the Rose Gold Meteor, and then when they start switching some of the items out, that plays a part in a lot of the timings from both the initiations with these compositions. Sanji also himself picking up a winner crown. So now we're looking at multiple winner crowns for both sides. Of course, the immortalities too. And even to get through Tarzan, he's catching up, right? You buy him some time, he's almost level 15. So they might have gotten themselves in a position here, Mirko, to be like, you know what, 30 seconds, we're ready to rock and roll for this next Lord. We will be able to contest it. And they might try to do the same thing where they send Troll to go and possibly get a pick off and start a fight, but not just get baited into a, engage, disengage scenario against Indonesia.
Sano's just walking up, dealing a bit of damage onto Luke. He buys the immortality too, and you can see that regen, full stacks on the Uranus, taking the damage and then healing it up all the way back.
The one thing too, they got to manage that bottom wave, right? That's part of the deal here, but when you got a Moskov, that's not much of a problem. You park him in the lane that's being pushed, he can just show up with that ultimate, that Spear Destruction. Lord is up now. Indonesia, we expect them to go ahead and take the stage with this one. Albert will go ahead and start it up. Troll giving the information, and Tarzan just around the corner. Has the immortality himself now too. Luke is still top side though, so they might be looking for their own kind of play here. They're going to clear out mid lane. That's going to be a reset. Troll.
Back over to Jiku, no finding two right there. Reset, Circle Cup in. Able to find Sans with the Raven Dragon, but he's able to flicker out to safety. Keyboy taken down. Now Sans, in a reaction, looking for it. Albert will be able to find the back line. Now pops in a crown as well. Tarzan, immortality is still there. Gets popped in. Albert still surviving. Faraga armor next. Sans with the in reaction. Cuff in is next to the chopping block. Good Terrify out, but the sustain is just too much for Saudi Arabia to deal with. CW's on a triple. He's a maniac in game one.
Maniac in game one, and that looked like that might be it. It's a wipeout, and Indonesia will make their way to the base to end the game. Game number one, 17 minutes in. They'll take the first blood of the series, the best of three, for the battle for thirds here. What a matchup. Took us a little bit longer to get to, but hey, Saudi Arabia tried and fought with all their will, but a decisive team fight at the end. And remember, all those items we were talking about, the winter crowns, the immortalities, the rose gold dog, everything played a part in that last fight. And you really saw where Indonesia, their experience allowed them to have somewhat of an upper hand when it came to that fight and be able to get the right targets down and even, again, utilizing that diversion. Just great team fighting from Indonesia.
Yeah, really great team fighting towards the end. Even though we saw a couple of mistakes here and there, in the early to mid, they were able to recover again. You can see the experience in the team, but also, in particular Saudi Arabia, man, they were able to actually match a lot of these brawls, match a lot of these team fights from Indonesia. And come game two, maybe they will be able to adapt again, right? So far, it's a different story already from what we saw in the group stage, Naisu. In the group stage, it was a 2-0 win for Saudi Arabia. This time, Indonesia lead 1-0.
Definitely so, and I know our analysts are going to have to say more about this game because it was an interesting game one. Let's see what they have to say. Guys, what do you think of game one?
Thanks, Naisu. Thank you so much, Mirko, for that cast of our first game in this best of three series. I'm going to throw that question over to our analysts right now. What did you guys think?
I liked it. Wait, he didn't ask us how do we like it, right?
What
He just
did you think?
just asked what you thought about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
can like it. That's a thought.
Yeah,
right?
I liked it. I liked the back and forth. I like how we read into Valentina on Sano,
Yeah.
or rather on Coffin,
Coffin.
because I think that was almost single-handedly the reason why Saudi Arabia was able to hold it that far.
Yeah, and I think it was a reminder for us also as to why Saudi Arabia decided to prioritize that. Again, we doubted it in the sense that we thought the Valentina would struggle, but Coffin made it look easy, man. He looked very comfortable with the Valentina. And of course, Sano on the Moskov, we thought might be a little bit more of a passive presence, but even in the lane was giving a lot of difficulty to CW. Called for rotations into the gold lane, which sort of tempered the aggression of Indonesia. But then at the end of the day, it went back to Sans and his pick, that low Yi, how they played around it, that very first pick on that alpha. Everything we said that Indonesia should do in terms of how they should play the game and their main strengths, they did it, and that's why they won.
In the early game, it seemed like Saudi Arabia had a better grasp on the tempo of the team fights. And then eventually, it came to the point where Keyboy just threw his body at Saudi Arabia enough times that it seemed like Saudi had enough of it. And when Keyboy was going to do it again in the late game, they totally forgot. I think that's what's allowed that late game split, that late game divide and conquer team fight that happened in the lower quarter of the map. And here you'll see how KSA were still trading positively. There was so much that Indonesia were putting just to take down Sanji. And look here, he's going to survive. And it took so long. And I think, yeah, see, W's going to get punished.
There were a lot of weird moments, actually, honestly, looking at Indonesia's gameplay. What do you guys think of that? Like, was it them being a little bit too overconfident in these skirmishes, or them getting hasty? What's going on?
All right, long and short of it, I think they took the scenic route.
Yeah.
I think they know exactly what they needed to do. It's just they tried to. You know how you have a solution to something simple in life, and you add just a layer or two to that because you think you can do it. You think you can get away with it, like those TikTok life hacks.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what Indonesia did here. And I mean that in the sweetest way. It's not because they underestimate Saudi Arabia. They were already beaten by Saudi Arabia in the groups once in a ravishing sweep. I wish we could have seen that, but I think it's more of Indonesia trust their mechanics enough that they talk to each other and they say, I'm gonna try to do this. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that looked like a team that really knew just how good they are at fighting. That, again, there was one highlight there where we saw CW chase it down, the two members of Saudi Arabia, right into the base, past the base turret. Both teams would have wanted to back off, but then they knew that even though that CW would go down, they had the Lord already secured. It was already marching through the top lane. It just got out of their base. They still had a man advantage, and minion waves looked good. It was certain aspects of the Brawly meta that I personally disagree with. But they still made it work, and that's the important thing. If you're going to brawl, just make sure there are conditions in the map that are good for you. Where are your minion waves? Do you have an objective marching with you? Do you have advantage elsewhere that if ever your decision to fight and brawl gets punished, that the other team still has to do so much cleanup with minion waves and getting other positions in the map?
I think the Lu Yi was what allowed for the corrective movements on the map and the Uranus, because those are able to hold down lanes or send dudes where you need to answer for waves and fights. And that's why Keyboy can throw bodies. That's why Albert can jump into less than ideal spears of Alpha. That's why CW can dive deep into the base, die, and still leave the map relatively positive for Indonesia. So this is clearly a team that is so mechanically gifted, that is so confident in their team fighting and their brawl meta, that they can get away with a win like this.
But I want to throw you guys a question here, because from the success that Indonesia has been able to grasp over the course of the playoffs, it feels like there's a certain formula that we're seeing, and it's between Keyboy as well as Luke. Right, we saw the Khalid Hilda, if I'm not mistaken, and that worked.
Yeah.
And this time they replaced the Hilda with the Uranus. Is that something that is a set formula that is going to be required for Team Indonesia in their upcoming game?
Again, we pose the two questions for the EXP laners now. Are you going to be proactive? Are you going to be passive? But again, not in a detrimental way. So for Indonesia, it seems like, are we going to get both Keyboy and Luke to be proactive, aggression, invade, or are we actually going to get one of them to be more proactive and the other one playing a little bit more security? With the Uranus, you see the EXP laner play security. It's the passive route. You control that long lane and you apply that slow build-up of pressure around your minion waves. Sometimes you see Indonesia picking up picks where Keyboy is a little bit more passive. He's not constantly invading, but the EXP lane is applying so much pressure that the EXP laner turns into the roamer, while the roamer can protect the backlines, protect Sans and CW a little bit better. So yeah, as long as they keep working around that formula and just make sure that both of them aren't passive, then that's going to be good. Just have someone playing security, have someone playing aggro.
It's the Keyboy-Luke connection that's allowing for the Sans Keyboy disconnection to survive. The fact that the mid laner and the roamer, I mean, you see it, you guys see it, we see it. The fact that Keyboy and Sans aren't as connected as they usually are in other tournaments that we've seen them, their local MPLs, the MSC that they won in 2023, the past 2.5 years that they were dominating in Indonesia. In WEC, it's more of the Luke and Keyboy connection. So I think it's the whole passive and aggressive dichotomy of the two frontliners of Team Indonesia that allows for Sans to just be Sans.
So now the question is, how do Saudi Arabia shut that down? That's the main question here, right? If they want to force a game number 3.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Saudi Arabia feels like they had the picks and the play style, especially Troll on that show, to try and shut it down. There was that one play and the Lord where we thought that Saudi Arabia would get the big team fight win there. It was Troll finding Sans right out of the gate, and that was the right approach to take. It seems like right now what's happening is, again, it boils back to there's just one team that seems like they're pressing buttons way better, a little bit more experience in this world stage compared to the Saudi Arabian team. Not to say that they can't come back from it, but these are the things right now now that are difficult to adjust on the fly. It'll be a lot of reminders from Coach Lyric to tell the boys, guys, watch out for minion waves. It'll be the boys telling Coach Lyric, what the Uranus? It's so expensive. We have to use Last Insanity just to take him down. The 2 deaths that Uranus got just came from Last Insanity. That was mainly it. So it's tough to answer that question and really like try to solve it right now. I think it can go back to something as simple as take away that EXP lane pick that's just bothering you so much and manage the minion waves and fight around the minion waves much better.
It sounds like a fundamental problem.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia can't box to the style that Indonesia is demanding them to right now. They can't trade haymakers. Every one that Saudi Arabia throws out, there's 3 coming in from the ribs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I suggest you focus on the draft. Make sure Coach Lyric arms his boys with at least a 50-50. Because you can't walk away with a winning draft against a team that's as aggressive as Indonesia. Number 2, try to shore up the jungle line, the jungle matchup, because it's clearly coming out now that in the first phase, give Tarzan a utility jungle. If you can't, he ends up with a Nolan or something in the second half. Find a way to make that a pro. Find a way to make that a win, because as it is, you can't just keep attacking Suns. Because if you try to do that, this happens. The rest of the map just goes roughshod, and Indonesia gets what they want anyways. So find a way to give Tarzan something that wins in the jungle, or find a way to not attack Suns anymore, because that's read out. I think Indonesia figured out in the past couple of days how to defend against that.
Yeah, because even when we saw Tarzan get his hands on the export, he was what, three levels below of Albert?
Yeah.
So when we go back into the drafts, if things go the way that Saudi Arabia wants it, do they prefer blue side? Do they prefer red side? And do they want to eliminate the alpha all together, or do they want to take it for themselves?
Well, it seems like that's going to be a question that only they can answer right now, because we are in a unique position in the meta where, again, here in WEC, as you pointed out yesterday, red side is winning more in this tournament right now. It's that 2-pick swing. It's just a little bit of adjustments in your priorities. I am coming from a newer school of thought that you may be willing to give up priority and chase for the Moskov. Because even though Sano had an amazing game with that Moskov, he was winning lane against CW, that's only one aspect of the game. Yes, you win lane, yes, you get lots of kills, but what becomes your overall effect in the team fight? Even though his entries are right there in the end, the entry was right, but it took a little bit of time for the Moskov to get the key members of Team Indonesia down and for Saudi Arabia to be in a comfortable team fight. What gold laners are a little bit more instant gratification in terms of damage? The Beatrix that can come a little bit later into the game. Considerations for Clint if ever the lineup of Team Indonesia doesn't have a lot of backline access. I'd like to see them go for gold laners now that don't necessarily need to win just lane, but are just so good with countering teams that love to brawl.
Now here's the thing. What does Sano play? What's in his hero pool? Because now that we look at it, right, he's used the Claude, Moskov, Bruno, and the Urtel. Technically, they could have picked up the Bruno instead of the Moskov. But that's why the ban coming in from Indonesia was also brilliant, because they took away the Urtel.
There's a hero that's missing. Clear hero that's a big pick in the meta that's not in that pool that I think they should consider if it's there. And I'm surprised. I thought they got banned, but where's the Harith?
Does he play the Harith?
Exactly. That's the question, is why is he not playing the Harith now? I think that's a hero that save for CW's 1-1. If the 1-1 doesn't get, if the 1-1 gets banned out, or if they can find a way to somehow beat up the 1-1 early, Sano on the Harith. That could be a solid solution, because imagine game 1, right? Watch game 1. If that was a Harith and they kept bearing down on CW, would have been a solid punish.
Yeah, and he does play Harith. That is part of his main hero pool.
As far back as their playoffs.
Yeah, as far back as their playoffs. So
what was that now? About 2 months ago.
Yeah, just 2 months ago. So you can't say that he doesn't have that in his hero pool. So yeah, maybe that's something that they could consider. If they want something a little bit more safer, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they're not picking into the Harith right now, is that the Harith puts itself in danger with what you're going up against. You can go for magic damage and go for the Nathan. That can wait
was going to be in your face anyways.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of accepting that this is the battlefield that Indonesia wants to fight on. If you try to constantly run away from it, which I think the Moskov allows for, because he does have that built-in dash, It's a losing battle. I think lean hard into it. I'm not so sure if Saudi Arabia is ready for that kind of tempo, though. But it should be a solution. Because they were going to fight anyways. This is a fighty lineup.
Yeah.
Okay. I think. Okay, let's swap our perspective a little bit more, right? Because we've talked about the gold lane, but don't you think that the tempo that Indo has been able to achieve, especially from what we saw in game number 1, was achieved through the other lanes?
Yeah,
Like maybe
for sure.
mid-prio is something that Saudi Arabia should consider in game number 2?
Yeah, definitely. Again, the mid-prio doesn't necessarily need to come from the major itself, but how active your jungler is. That's why we suggested that instead of the export, something that can stand a little bit more toe-to-toe and be aggressive alongside whatever jungle pick Albert's going to end up in. That's one of the reasons why the Uranus became a problem there, because of the constant pressure, slow build-up of pressure. And that's why, for me personally, I feel like the approach of Saudi Arabia cannot just be let's just match and brawl it out. There has to be some aspect of map control, build-up, minion wave, macro map management that you make Indonesia react to that, instead of you just trying to match them boxing, haymaker, one-to-one.
That's why I think blue side is where Saudi Arabia goes now. There's a clear answer out of all of the things you've said that will allow for Tarzan to do that. It's the Alpha. Try to go for Alpha Blue 1.
Ooh.
That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, yeah.
That solves a lot of the problems. All the other lanes be damned. If Alpha ends up in the hands of Tarzan, that's less of a problem, because we're missing one point that was a clear factor in game 1, even before the game started. The damage profile. One of the reasons why the Xborg found it hard to do its thing in game 1 was because it needs time. It takes like 2 or 3 seconds for him to just go for the rest of Indonesia to think twice about that fight. But imagine if it was an Alpha. All you need is a single combo. Spear of Alpha, 2-in-1, pow. Everyone is at what, half health. You just don't get that with an Xborg. You don't get that with any other jungle fighter for that matter. Even a Suyo has to weave in and out.
But I think it also requires a proper foundation now. Like, a strong jungler is great, but if the main rotational heroes, the support is not there, the foundation is not there, the jungler will still not have enough space. And what I'm getting at is the Luo Yi versus the Valentina matchup in the mid lane that we saw. Luo Yi is such a strong mid laner.
Yeah.
She has really good poke in the early game. Her base damage is insane. She doesn't need level 4. And she wins out in range against the Valentina.
She might be the #1 banned mid laner in the game right now.
Yeah, and even though I know you did mention earlier that targeting Sands might not be the right case, I feel like at this point, they do really have to respect the Loi and the Eve that they have on the Sands. But
Draft-wise, yeah, for sure.
yeah, Saudi Arabia, if this was their choice, chose to go red.
All right.
Maybe red side.
You're not touching the Alpha. They're
Still
not-
going to be the same decision now for both of these teams as we head into the drafts for game number 2. Once again, we do see the Fanny respected away from KSA here. Indonesia's going to ban that out. The Jushin. The question is, do you think that Saudi Arabia want to swap things out in the bans? I know it's risky, right? Because what they banned out earlier on was Suyo, Zushin, and Yves, but then that allowed the Alpha to be picked up first.
They're gonna try
by
to trade for the
Indonesia.
Suyo then.
Yeah.
They'll go, all right, Indonesia Alpha, we'll get Suyo X.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Now they'll still take it out.
They're just switching it up.
So I feel like even more so now, you're not gonna first pick any of the E's or the low E's. They'll leave one of those open, and then maybe pick up the other as one of their first 2 picks. So they'll leave the Eve out. You're not gonna rush a low E in here. Saudi Arabia can consider picking up the low E as one of their first 2 picks on the red side, so that now Sands will be forced to play another mid lane hero. Again, the only other that he's shown is the Angela and the Aurora.
They still have the Vex.
Oh, and the Vexana. Yes.
And of course, I don't know if you mentioned it, his signature Valentina. That's
Yep.
still up for trade, so...
Which is again question like as to why Indonesia do not pick that up in this tournament. They have a completely different approach to drafting for
Those are the-
Sads. But yeah, there it is. A low E steal, of course.
So now there is a perfect chance. Now do you go Valentina or do you go Aurora? I don't think this is an Angela. Well, Angela Alpha's also still pretty good,
yeah.
but I don't know if you wouldn't do it this early.
If they want to go aggressive, what do you think about the Cho?
Angela Cho or Angela Khalid, honestly.
Oh, you're right, Khalid.
Would be okay
You
here.
can still go Khalid Khalid, Hilda too. Like Hilda didn't get banned out either.
Yeah. Guess that Phobius. See if they have time to manage it.
I think I guess technically the Hilda can still be flexed, but what they don't know right now is what do Saudi Arabia want to utilize in the jungle?
Oh, that's big three right there.
Ooh,
Very similar spot for the 1-1 from game 1.
Yeah.
And
They still lock in the Uranus.
that's an early Uranus.
Yeah. Damage profiles. Saudi, I feel like if they could, they would want to pick up. Oh, okay.
We're running
Okay.
it back.
All right.
Interesting,
That
but
exceeded expectations.
I mean, technically, the Xborg didn't have the proper support that it had. This time, they have the Luo Yi in their composition, and maybe that's the proper foundation, the proper step in the right direction for that space that the Xborg needs.
That's. I don't know if that's discounting Coffin's Valentina, but it did solid up until the mid game in game
Yeah.
1. So I don't know if this is. It's not better completely. I think it's just different enough. We'll see. I don't want to put my foot down and say it's good or bad just yet.
I think the gold laner pick has to be different. I cannot be just a Moskov again. But yeah, you're right. The Roam here has to be such a good pairing with the Lo Yi that makes it a little bit tougher for Keyboy to get into the key spots, or you punish Keyboy for getting into those key spots. So you either go Khalid, Lo Yi. It becomes a trade between the Khalid and the Cho. However, the Cho, looking at the targets right now, it seems like the Lo Yi is only going to be the main target. Already have the Alpha to answer the Phobias. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Or unless
the Uranus?
Yeah, unless Saudi decide to take out the Khalid instead. Maybe they'll pick up the Cho or maybe the Tigreal for themselves. Either of those two.
I'm a little disappointed that Tigreal just left the meta so quickly. He is currently like what, tier 2.5 at best.
Yeah.
You would see him picked in like 1 in 10, 12 games.
To be fair, he gets banned quite a lot
In the second phase.
when he's an option. Yeah.
in the second phase, so we missed him. And there's the Moskov. Team Indonesia respecting Sano's Moskov. Gave CW hell for a good chunk of the early game to the mid,
Yeah.
game 1. Now do we see the gold laner? This is the same spot where the Moskov came out. We're looking for a Claude, looking for a Harith, looking for, what were you saying? A Beatrix?
I want a
Or a
Beatrix.
Clint? Is it Hanoun in Riyadh?
I prefer the Beatrix now. They pick up the Cho, so it becomes a Cho Kali trade. So now Indonesia, they can honestly just go Tigreal, man. There's nothing wrong with it right now. Now the Phobius is not going to go Purify, so you have an instant, even more punish for the Phobius.
But we've seen that before. We've seen Povi do Purify.
Okay,
You don't see it enough.
final two picks
See
for
it enough.
Indonesia.
If
Do
they
they
do
want
that,
to
I'm
go
surprised.
team fight? Do they want to go pick off?
Yeah, I don't think Hilda Rome is a good idea these days.
Tigreal Aurora or Tigreal Vexana. I'm just defaulting to a Tig. Because you don't necessarily need to high invade up against an Xborg.
I had a feeling.
Okay, so they do go pick off.
There you go.
They go pick off Eterna, and it's a Franco Farsa, and because you go for a static mid lane that wants to get dived on, it's an easy Claude pickup for Saudi Arabia.
Gotta close the gap, find a way to double lane. Given that the 1-1 ain't leaving soon, I like what Indonesia has done here. They forced Saudi Arabia's hands. It's not like Saudi Arabia's going anywhere. It's more spelled out after Indonesia showed us these picks that we usually don't see.
Yeah, I'm so hyped. This is something that Fnatic Onyx had in their strategy pool, but we never saw it. That was what I wrote on, my notes yesterday.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that with the Beatrix pickup, but they're pairing it with the 1-1 that can still work. But what does the Claude and the 1-1 lane look like?
Most of the time it's not like a clear advantage for either of them. It's just it just goes down to who gets a little bit more help. Because if you dead lane that, we don't really see a clear advantage.
I like the mid-game matchup, the Farsa versus Lo Yi. It's gonna be fire.
It's gonna be fun.
Fire.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The possible final game if Saudi Arabia can't win this one and force a game number 3, they will be given 3rd place. And remember, the prize pool is on the line. Guys, final predictions for this game?
I want to see a game 3, man. I want to see a game 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think the Farsa and the Franco are coming in. They're going for the throat. I think that's it. I think we see Indonesia bag third place here.
Yeah, that's why I say I want to say a game 3 because I agree with that. But I do want to say game 3.
I wonder what the casters are thinking. Do you think they agree with us?
Ask him how they like it.
Casters, do you like it? I don't think they're there yet. Oh, they are! Casters, do you like it?
We are here.
We're here.
It's funny, now we get to ask that question. They ask us that question. Do you like it?
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot, man. 50-50, by the way. 1-1 versus Claude is a skill matchup.
Are they going for the throw here, like Leo mentioned? This
Going for
Franco.
the head.
They're going for the head.
Doing what Thor couldn't.
Oof, I don't know, man. Franco, Farsa, love to see it. Guys, we're going to be jumping into the game here. It could be the last one, the battle for the third place between Indonesia and Saudi Arabia. Or will we get to see a game number 3 in this best of 3? Taking a look at the emblems real quick, too. Again, interesting picks that we don't see often. You got the concussive blast. You're seeing all the speed here for Keyboy, by the way. He wants to be moving, and he's got the pre-spins up. Every Franco player does this, by the way. They spin around, and I think that increases the rate of the hook a little bit. That might be a myth. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, it's completely factual. Meanwhile, what happened? Luke, trying to run away, able to get the dash in time. Ooh, that was really close, man. Playing with some thin margins. Cuffin walking around as well. Getting the first proc. Jiku. No, Luke still able to escape. Okay. Ooh,
Limit
that looked
testing.
holding Purify down, by the way. Albert gets the lead, though. And now that's going to be an iron hook. Cuffin for some flicker sounds. Oh, the basic attack. Can he find it? No, he gets knocked out by Troll. First blood for Saudi Arabia.
That was Troll flexing on, by the way. Still love that we have these emotes now in the game, you know,
Yes,
because
sir.
you were thinking, like, Cuffin had a sliver of HP. Yeah, he had to burn the flicker too, but unfortunately, Sands couldn't get that kill, that last kill secured that he was looking for. But again, early advantage go in the hands of Saudi Arabia here. The kill went over to the fact that it is Troll, so he's going to be a little more aggressive this time. You know, Sands would be fine with wings by wings. Keyboy, though, like I said, he landed that hook earlier. And that could be a key part of getting the momentum that usually Indonesia looks to get. But this time around, because you have that early kill, you have a little bit of advantage. Saudi Arabia should be able to play into that, especially, again, Troll is the guy to start everything in the early game with this Cho pick.
It's all about this setup with the Cho. If you're able to get
More
Albert,
speed.
more speed, rapid boots on top of the agility, on top of the Wilderness Blessing, you're right. They're going to be lane swapping. Iron hook over to Tarzan, getting rid of the Braga armor, straight to the Spear of Alpha now. Jiku going to knock Albert up with the innate reaction as well, but Tarzan going to be very low. Albert picks up the kill now with Feather Air Strike coming down. Cuffin will be taken low, but it is a trade, jungle for jungle. Luke will try to zone Cuffin even more. Up top though, CW not using Inspire, definitely winning out this time around.
Yeah, winning out that little matchup right now. I know the panel discussed it, you know, that matchup between the two gold lanes, but right now Sands could be in trouble. He's gonna wings on out of there. So still the turtle for the taking. Again, both junglers went down, and that's kind of the preview of what we're going for. You know, just kind of this brawl, go and play off the hooks if it's landed by Keyboy, and then play into it. And so far, Saudi Arabia, you know, they have their own options of that. Again, Troll getting that other kill. Now he's sitting at 2-0. Diversion going to be used top.
Up top now, they get the Purify down there, almost getting the crossbow attack, but Sano deals with him. Good rotation from Saudi Arabia to catch him and to get a trade, knowing that the turtle will go to Indonesia.
Trading across the map. Sometimes that's better though, right? KSA wants to go ahead and get these kills if they can. Going in the hands this time for Sano, you know, we were talking about the matchup. That gives them a little bit of an advantage to work through. And so they'll respond across the map with that. Again, this is all about some of these micro plays where they're looking for, you know, these advantages playing around a diversion or not, but also the macro plays. You know, getting that little bit of extra gold, even on that gold plating of the turrets, does play a part here. Sino does need a little bit more time, you know, with that change that happened to Claude just, you know, earlier this year, where he doesn't have that mana anymore. He can get online faster, I would say, than what he did previously, but you're still talking about also this 1-1 that has been showing to prove actually pretty devastating throughout the tournament, especially if you get an advantage going on.
Definitely, and now for Indonesia, it's all about playing the slow game, and I think it's the same for Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia want to get to their power spikes. Again, they have an export, they have a Claude, so they're very comfortable just taking it slow. And for Indonesia, with the help of the Alpha, they definitely want to go for the intro objectives. Luke to be gang in the bottom lane, pops into Purify, gets out of the 4-man gang down below. Hold up just a second though, last insanity. Luke now, boom, Tarzan gets the kill. Luke will be picked up. Meanwhile, up top, flicker forward from Keyboy. Looking to get that bloody hunt, but is not in range. Sano, good purify out.
I was gonna say, man, for a minute, I was like, there's no way he escapes this. Even with the Purify, he almost did, but luckily, you know, KSA was able to get the kill. Saudi Arabia making sure they secure that one. There was also some pressure up top. You see that gold all taken over there in that gold lane. Because of the fact, too, you just have Keyboy being that threat alongside CW. Oh, wow, what? Albert.
Solo kill down below. Don't know what happened there. I guess Sanji was overstepping, gets caught by the Spear of Alpha, and now good setup for Indonesia to go for turtle number 2.
And that just proves, Miracle, why the Alpha is picked up so often early on.
Luke. The Dragon over to Luke. This time no Purify. Tarzan trying to burn him down. Good Iron Hook. Frog Armor down. Albert looking for the Spear of Alpha. Will be able to find a win. The Feather Airstrike. Sans buys the Blood Wings in time. Pops in a Purify, but not Troll. Jiku no flicker.
He gets another one. Those two going to break out in the fight. Albert in trouble now, too. Trying to bob and weave out of there. Gunned it. Oh, but won't escape as Cuffin picks up the kill.
Troll running away. Indonesia still trying to go for the kill. Good conceal. Luke in the midst of it all. Now jumping in. The burst is real from Cuffin. Yin Yang reaction and the Infernal Pursuit will deal with Luke, and that will be Saudi Arabia with a lead. Here, no Iron Hook from Keyboy.
It was the spins earlier, I'm telling you. That's what he did, the right amount, and so far Keyboy has been there with the hooks. I don't think they delayed this enough. It is going to be a turtle just going to the hands of Saudi Arabia. Good fighting potential that we see from both teams, from both compositions here. And really, if, again, you didn't have that diversion to join that fight when it happened, then Saudi Arabia would have been in a way difficult position to actually win some of that fight out, plus the objective is what they get. We find ourselves at pretty much even, right? Economy-wise, it's relatively even. You also got two objectives that are going to both sides so far. And at this point in the game, diversion.
They go all in onto Troll. He just burst him down with the help of the Feather Airstrike. Albert zones Sano away, but a diversion brings Sanji in towards Indonesia. Keyboy flickering out, but the Infernal Pursuit, the Demonic Force proc was on him. Sanji can just follow in. Albert now. That's the Infernal Pursuit over to him. Yin Yang reaction as well. Albert needs to respect this damage. Tarzan is walking over. He does have the last Insanity, but he will not commit onto it. They'll just get that tier 1 up top, Indonesia, and they'll be happy with that trade.
All right, they get the turret, opening up the map a little bit, taking a look at the items too. It's gonna, so another turret going down there. Again, you know, you just have a couple items being locked in, but CW, he does have that 2 items that he locks in. Corrosive Scythe, he's got the DHS working on the next tier. Sano, obviously getting to where he needs to be on the Claude, but needs a little bit more time to build up. And still, again, Saudi Arabia's not doing a bad job at keeping things even. Troll, though, is gonna go for the kick.
Wrong angle. Luke still following Cuffin. That'll be Troll locked down by the Iron Hook. Meanwhile, Luke still jumping in. Oh, Cuffin!
He's still
almost
alive.
Getting the outplay down. Sanji looking for the chase now onto Luke, but with the consecration, he should be able to survive. Yeah, just Troll taken down. They're looking for the mid lane now. Iron Hook.
Oh, Iron Hook.
Keyboy, not gonna go for it just yet. Last Insanity. Over to CW. Will lose a Virago armor. Now Sans wings by wings over to find an angle, but doesn't have the Feather Airstrike.
All right, they hold on to the mid turret the best they can. Saudi Arabia will do that. And I don't know how many times so far throughout the tournament we've seen Cuffin actually get away with, you know, just a sliver of HP. It's very difficult to kill him sometimes, and you know, it's a good thing because he's a major source of the damage that Saudi Arabia is going to rely on. They're going to go for the play again here.
Diversions to the back. Albert gonna be caught. Great Jikudo from Troll. It's a Feather Airstrike to respond it over. Albert still winning it out, getting the Spear of Alpha to escape, but now the last Insanity just explodes into crossbow attack. It's CW getting in a bloody hunt to lock him down. Sanji will fall. It's a trade in the end with a Velvet gun bought in time. CW will pick up a triple kill in game number 2.
Oh, that is tough, man. The CW getting the triple kill this early on already. Again, look at the respect, the damage from Cuffin, but still a big team fight win there for Indonesia. And we've talked about this time and time again. Every time that 1-1 does get prioritized and drafted, picked up, you get these kills early on, you start to snowball out of control. It's tough to deal with that. That Feathered Airstrike. Just go ahead and put some pressure here in the mid lane. Whittling down the turrets a little bit here, and this is where we see some of that pendulum swing. Obviously, the momentum in favor. Oh! Mid lane.
Has the Purify. Sans running away against 3, a full dive under the turret. Now let's see what they decide to do. Luke gonna read out this angle. We'll try to go for the chase on Troll, but it is a joke. Consecration from Luke. No, they just have to respect it. They'll go into the bottom lane and trade a tier 2 for Sans.
You know, that play works so many times. Diversion, you try to go for the cutoff. you just show up with everybody, right, and boom, you get a kill. But then you got to remember, every single time that you do that, and depending on how many members you send with that diversion, experienced teams are going to find something else across the map. Again, they're going to go for it.
Yeah,
They're
they
going to
spotted
chase.
out.
Okay, they don't chase that one. They don't. That iron hook's not going to land on Sanji, so still.
He needed more spinny spins.
He needs to re-spin himself here, getting himself prepared for that Lord take. Again, that you land that iron hook, you get them down with the Bloody Hunt. It's really difficult to get away from that. And like I said, for Saudi Arabia, they can always just play into the fact that they have so much damage with Cuffin. But eventually, he's got to be careful, because if they keep sending members down, again, they're losing on the macro scale. They're pushing down bot. Sano's there, but look at this. 2 big items defensively picked up. Albert with the Winter Crown. CW gets the win in nature. And Lord is up now. So you're keeping Sano there. And what is Saudi Arabia going to do about this objective? They get the tier 1 turret, but they're watching this Lord. Half health now. Sanji and Tarzan trying to get to the front. Troll as well. Going to be a little bit of a reset. Still pushing on the tier 2 turret for now. So they're just going to go for it.
Last insanity from Tarzan. Given the airstrike, Tarzan's going to become very low. Albert goes straight back to the Lord right now as Tarzan will lose immortality. That's Albert with Retribution, Iron Hook, and the Bloody Hunt to lock Sanji down with Spear of Alpha as well. Tarzan gives the concealed to go and run away, but Luke will pop in the Purifier to get out of the way. The Dragon to finish off Tarzan. Troll G Kundo, Sans with an angle of attack over to Cuffin, getting the stun over, and a few more shots. Luke diving in over to Cuffin, getting a double on this Uranus inside of the base. Troll can even get there in time. Can he burst Luke down? Even with Saudi, they aren't able to do it. Luke is unkillable.
He's still unkillable. They can't get the turret. A couple of hits. They might just brute their force way into it. They get the base turret down. Lord still making his way up top. And Saudi Arabia, man, not the fight they were looking for. A really great team fight again from Indonesia. They might just still look to push it into the base.
Another feathered airstrike this time. Holy defense in the mid lane still intact. Luke, an absolute beast on this Uranus currently. Tarzan and Sano dealing with the Lord. Holy defense in the mid lane finally popped in. Albert brought back by the Yin Yang reaction. Indonesia playing a slow troll with a way to drag him, but it's a good purify out from Sans. Iron Hook from Keyboy, and the Bloody Hunt to lock him down. Tarzan trying to save it, but now he gets caught by the Spear of Alpha.
He's going to go in. Cuffin in trouble too. There's a double, and now they're going to be working on the base turrets here.
Sano and Troll zoned away. Indonesia at the base. It's a blazing duet from Sano to try one desperate attempt to save the game, to save their tournament lives. Troll, one last member, a wipeout for Indonesia. And Saudi Arabia, they won't be able to secure 3rd place in their own country here. Unfortunately for them, they'll have to suffer the defeat. Indonesia will secure 3rd place at IESF WEC 2024.
And with that, that is, I believe, $20,000 US, part of that prize pool of the 160. And like you mentioned, you know, finish strong for Indonesia here, getting that 3rd place finish, that bronze finish. Again, not often you see them fighting for this 3rd place, but definitely looked like they came to play. They wanted to go for the throat. They wanted to go for the head. They get it in a sweep fashion in this best of 3. Very clean gameplay too, and I love to see it, man. You know, we get a game where this Franco comes in, the Farsa, and you know, the hooks, they're still the same, you know? Like, the hooks can just cause games to fall apart if they land on the right moments. And he spinned enough, so he was pretty accurate.